I stand before you tonight feeling grateful and feeling blessed to have been a porn addict, and feeling especially blessed and especially grateful to be a recovering porn addict today, because that word really makes a world of difference. I didn't always feel that way about my past. I remember about 6 years ago, I was driving down 595 and I was on my way to my first recovery meeting, and I was shaking and I was incredibly anxious. I couldn't breathe. And I was heavy with shame. I was broken. I was hopeless. I felt helpless. I was isolated. And I was suicidal. And I remember what I was thinking as I was driving down 595, because it was the same conversation that I had been having inside of my head for years and years and years. Benny, you idiot. How could you let it get this bad? Why didn't you stop when you were young, when you could stop? If it wasn't for pornography, you'd have a great sex life. If it wasn't for pornography, I'd have money and a career, and I would have achieved all of these things. I remember thinking, what am I about to encounter on the other side of this door that I'm about to walk through? Am I going to meet perverts, rapists, sex offenders? Is that who I am? I can't be like them. I can't be like them. I'm not having sex with anybody. I'm just watching porn. I want to die. I want to die. I want to die. Kill me. Kill me. Kill me. That's what I was thinking. And on any other night, that particular point in the dialogue when I was thinking about just my life ending, that's the point when I would have reached for my medication. And for some other people, it would have been maybe alcohol or drugs. For me, it was my laptop and pornography. And I would use pornography to escape, to flip the switch and just forget for a moment everything that was happening in my life. All the shame that I felt, all the pain that I felt, all the things I wasn't achieving. And I would use pornography to induce those very few seconds of intense pleasure where no thought existed in my head, where there was absolute bliss, and nothing was telling me how worthless I was and how terrible I was. But I was trapped. I was trapped between a rock and a hard place, because on the one hand, the only solution I could conceive of for my pain was ending my life. And on the other hand, I knew what that would do to my family, and I had experienced it firsthand, so I knew I wouldn't kill myself. So at that point in time, the only solution I had to medicate or to go through any of my days was to act out with pornography. But not that night. That night I arrived at my first recovery meeting, and I remember sitting in the parking lot. My heart wasn't pounding through my chest. My heart was stuck right here in my throat. I couldn't breathe. And once again, that thought, what's waiting for me behind that door? I don't remember how I got from the car to the chair. I don't. I still don't remember. But I remember a lot of the faces that waited for me in that room. And as I looked around before the meeting started, everyone just seemed so normal. There were women and men of all walks of life sitting in that room with me. And then the meeting started, and I started hearing the readings, and I started saying, oh my God, this is me. This is me. This is what I've been going through. And I knew in that moment that I had come home and that I needed to keep coming back. The next thing I found in that meeting was my experience reflected back to me from every person that shared that night. Everyone that shared, didn't matter where they came from and what they had gone through, I could hear my own experience. And for the first time in my life, all of a sudden I knew I wasn't alone. And I knew that I wasn't worthless. And I knew that I could be helped. But the most important thing, the most surprising thing that I found that night was an angel. And I remember this angel walking towards me after the meeting, and he approached me and he said, Benny, give me your phone number, save it. I'll give you my phone number, save it. Call me every morning at 8. I'm like, what? I didn't know he was an angel at the time, but he was right. Now, I'd like to be able to tell you that I called him the next day or the next day or the next day, but I didn't. I couldn't break through the shame. I couldn't break through the fear of being vulnerable and exposing to another human being what I had been doing all of these years. But this man started calling me every morning at 8 a.m. as I was dropping my kids at school. And as I was driving to my office every day at 8 in the morning, I was experiencing panic attacks. I was in panic and completely confused because I didn't know how I was going to begin my day of work without first locking myself in the bathroom and acting out with pornography. That's how bad it was. And so his solution to this problem was extremely practical and extremely humbling. He said to me, before you go to the bathroom every day, text me. When you leave the bathroom, text me. And I looked at him like he was crazy, but he was so right. So that began about 1.5 years of me texting this guy a toilet emoji every time I would go into the bathroom. 1 toilet emoji for number 1, 2 toilet emojis for number 2. And then I would text him the confetti and all the party emojis when I successfully came out of the bathroom without having acting out, right? And that was, I think, one of the very first experiences I had of just realizing how powerless I was with regards to pornography, how helpless I was to stop this on my own. I could not stop on my own. I started working my program and I started talking to this angel of mine every day, and I started talking to my sponsor every day. And in working the program, I started remembering things. One of the first memories that I remember was of little Benny, about maybe 6 or 7 years old, and I had a girlfriend at the time. I always had a girlfriend. And we were at carpool at school, and I remember she kissed me on the cheek goodbye. And there was this whole commotion around us, all the teachers and all the students. People were either teasing us or cheering us. This poor girl didn't know where to hide. She was so embarrassed. And I remember coming into my car, and inside of me, inside I was just feeling so, so happy. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. All these people saw it. I am the luckiest boy in the world. And little Benny made the connection between displays of affection from girls and my self-esteem and how good I felt about myself. And I kept on moving forward. The next thing I remember was, little Benny again, this time about 8 years old, playing at a friend's house. And in what seemed like the blink of an eye, witnessing this friend bring his sister into the room and start sexually molesting her. And of course, I froze, and I didn't know what was happening, and I felt deeply, deeply ashamed. And I called my mom, she picked me up, and I never went back to that friend's house again. But little Benny kept it secret. He didn't tell anybody. He didn't ask for help. He didn't ask questions. And he blamed himself for not being able to stop it, for not doing something. And I just buried it, and I kept walking forward. And I kept working, and I kept working, and the next thing I remember is little Benny, this time 11 years old, watching his first pornography film at another friend's house. And I remember these images coming on the screen, and once again, just not knowing what to do with it. I could not understand what these bodies were doing. I could not make sense of what was going on. I was just a kid, 11 years old, had no idea what I was getting myself into. But at the same time, I remember feeling this extreme high. I had never felt that sensation ever. And I was excited and I was titillated, and it was a secret. And this time the secret made it kind of exciting, I was being naughty. Only my friend and I knew what we were doing. And little Benny made the connection about feeling high while watching porn. That would stay with me for a long time. Now, I didn't have access to pornography back then, but I soon discovered masturbation. And it came right on time. This was a time when my parents' marriage was kind of falling apart. I was feeling confused. I didn't know what to do with my emotions. I didn't have any really healthy coping mechanisms. And masturbation gave me the ability to soothe myself every night before going to sleep. And so from the get-go, as soon as I discovered it, this was a thing that I did every night before going to sleep. And of course, this was a secret. Privacy is one thing, but this was a secret. No one knew. No one would know. And at that age, maybe 12 or 13 years old, I remember that I would fantasize when masturbating. I remember that I would fantasize about the things that 12 and 13-year-olds fantasize about. But in my mind, it all looked like the porn movie that I had watched when I was 11. In my mind, every fantasy looked like that. And I was the stud, and I was the guy, right? And I was the performer, the guy who could, do anything in bed. Fast forward to 15, and this was truly a pivotal time in my life when I went through this kind of rite of passage that was very normal in the community that I grew up in Venezuela. And I'm 15, and I end up at this pay-by-the-hour hotel with a prostitute. And I don't want to be there. I'm scared, shitless. I want to run away. I don't want to go through with it. But in my head, I kept telling myself, just go, just do it. It's going to be over soon. Just do it, get it over with, and no one will bother you again. You'll be able to move on with your life. We end up upstairs. I am nervous beyond my ability to express it, just the level of anxiety that I was feeling. And as we started becoming intimate, my body is just not responding. I'm scared. I don't want to go. I don't want to be there. I remember my mind being in one place, my body being in another place. And this did not look, feel, smell. Nothing was like it was in my fantasies. Nothing was like the movie that I had seen all those years ago that I kept running and running through my mind for years at this time. Suddenly, I felt something in my body that I could not explain. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what this woman was doing to me. But my body responded. And so I said, fine, let her do it. Shortly thereafter, she brought me to orgasm, and I was laying there kind of looking at the ceiling, feeling so humiliated, so ashamed. And the orgasm itself, I can't express or maybe explain what it feels like to have the pleasure of an orgasm and simultaneously have this tremendous bucket of shame and dirtiness at the same time. Really messes with your head. And there I am, lying on the bed, looking at the ceiling, just at this point kind of saying, finally, it's over. And I looked to my left, and the first thing that the woman did after our encounter was just kind of stand up and go away and go wash. And once again, all I felt was, oh my God, this is so dirty. This is so gross. It was one of the most humiliating experiences that I've ever gone through. And it launched me into this cycle of depression and insecurity and questioning of myself for many, many years. But of course, little 15-year-old Benny didn't ask for help. He didn't tell anybody. He kept it a secret. And my refuge became porn at that time. Maybe a year and a half later, I found a way to get a fake driver's license, and that gave me access to all the pornography that I wanted. I was 16, maybe 17, buying porn magazines wherever I could. And at this time, my addiction really, really progressed. At the same time, I was, I always had kind of a girlfriend. And each time an opportunity for intimacy would present itself, I would build it up in my mind and in my fantasies for a long, long time, thinking this is going to be the one. This experience is going to change everything. This is going to fix me. This is going to take away all of the bad stuff that I've experienced in the past. I'm not going to need porn after this. And lo and behold, the experience would present itself and the result would be the same. My body would just be transported right back into that hotel room. The panic that I felt would be just the same. And of course, I would be left humiliated again. I would be left feeling ashamed. I would be left feeling embarrassed. And I would be left feeling like I let the other person down somehow, on top of it all, you know? Eventually, I got married, very young, at around 22. And I truly believed that marriage was going to fix me. Truly believed that marriage was going to take away my pornography problem. I was going to get all the sex that I needed. I was wrong. I was very wrong. And for years, my addiction just kept progressing. This was the late 90s at the time. Internet had come around. And so with that came this whole new world of pornography that I could access. And day in and day out, one day at a time, one time a day became twice a day. Twice a day became 3 times a day. And it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. But I kept it secret. I didn't tell anybody. I can't be an addict. I'm not having sex with anybody. I'm just watching porn. I'm just a guy with high sex drive, I would tell myself. I had all the excuses. I'm not getting it from my wife, so I'm doing her a favor. I don't have to pressure her. I don't have to push her. I don't have to ask for it. I can just take care of my own needs, right? Then 2009 came around, and the Tiger Woods scandal happened. And I remember, for those who I don't know if any of you are not familiar with it, but Tiger Woods was exposed as a sex addict. And I remember the media crucified him. They just completely tore him apart. And I remember the conversations around the table with friends and, acquaintances. And I would just sit there and be quiet because they were just completely shaming him. And I kept feeling conflicted and confused because I would look at what he was doing. I kept saying to myself, hang on a second, there's something there that is similar to me. And at that point, I remember deciding this was something I was going to keep secret forever. I was either going to die acting out or I was going to stop. But of course, I never found a way to stop. One night, a couple of years later, about 6 years ago, I found myself at work once again, but this time on the phone, about to cross a line that I had never crossed. I was about to venture outside of pornography and into acting out with other people. And I had a person on the phone and I was arranging an encounter. And when I realized what I was doing, all of a sudden I said, no, I can't do this. And I hung up. The next day I went to my therapist. I was in therapy at the time. And I finally opened up about what I had been doing. I had been going to therapy for maybe 4 years at the time. And I had kept it secret. It was crazy. And he said, yeah, Benny, you're definitely a porn addict. Get yourself to a meeting, which brought me to, that drive down 595 in the Angel. Recovery has been the most amazing journey that I've had in my whole life. In recovery, I've learned to look back at my past and not feel ashamed of it, to connect with other people vulnerably within the safety of the room, and then to be able to take that outside of the room to my friends, to my colleagues, to my sons. I have 2 sons. They're now 11 and 13 years old, the same age I was when all of this got started for me. And I feel really, really blessed to have gone through all of it, because now I know that the shame that I felt each and every time I acted out was there to tell me to stop and speak up, to stop and ask for help. I know that the pain that I was feeling, by the way, my back was screwed up by then, and it was partly due because of my acting out. The pain that I was feeling was there to tell me, once again, stop what you're doing, listen to the signs, ask for help. There is help. And I feel blessed because I get the opportunity to instill in my sons something different than what I experienced. I get the ability and I get the chance to have these vulnerable, deep, mature conversations, to use the tools of recovery, the language of spirituality, humility, letting go of things I can't control. By the way, there's things I can't control, right? I get to have all of this with my sons, and it has helped them grow and mature and become amazing, amazing kids. And I feel really, really blessed because I know that where my addiction ended, acting out with online pornography anywhere from 3 to 6 times a day, that's where our kids are getting started today. If you think about the fact that I watched my first porn film when I was 11, that was 1987, 1988. There was no internet back then, and somehow the stars conspired to put that porn film in front of me. Today, if a kid is curious about sexuality, their first instinct is to ask Google, not to ask dad, to ask Google, not to ask mom. And it's been studied and reported on for years now that kids as young as 8, 9, 10 are getting intentionally or accidentally exposed to pornography. Things that existed only in the darkest corners of the world, and maybe you had to be an addict for 50 years in order to encounter them in real life. All of these things are available 3 taps or 3 clicks away on any kind of website for free, anytime on demand. Studies are also showing that sibling on sibling sexual abuse is on the rise. Partly due to the fact that kids are being exposed to pornography and then, out of curiosity, are reenacting what they see on their younger siblings. And so I stand before you tonight feeling extremely blessed to have the ability to guide my children through a different reality. Rabbi Shais Taub, in a book called A God of Our Understanding, poses a version of what an addict is in the context of society. And he essentially presents this vision that addicts serve a purpose, that addicts are kind of the canary in the coal mine. You know the canary in the coal mine? Right? Anything that is toxic in the mine, the canary will die, and therefore alerting the people that they should go, right? Addicts are the canary in the coal mine. We are today the ones who are here speaking. We are the canaries who survived the coal mine. Whatever is toxic and destructive out there in the world, we're going to be the first to show the symptoms. Whatever is nourishing, spiritually nourishing, whatever is constructive and positive and creative, we're going to be the first to benefit from that and to be able to spread it and give it as well. So I'm really, really happy to be here tonight, really grateful that I get to stand here as a canary who survived the coal mine and sing my song, and ask you that if you're suffering in silence, to just ask for help. If you feel ashamed about what you're doing, speak up and ask for help. There's an angel waiting for you, waiting to help you as well. Thank you very much.